like for like an hour. But I mean,
To our oath of office, and Dr. Ryan will be doing that oath for all of us. So we're starting with me. Okay. So all of those names sworn in. Let's move up. You want to just do it all at once? Okay.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I will 5 minutes so that we can say hello to readjourn at 6 o'clock after closed session. Okay. Are reconvening at 6 o'clock. The board, I want to welcome everyone who came here tonight. Thank you. The board did meet in closed session, and we will be going back to closed session after this meeting. I do want to report out that pursuant to Education Code 45113, the board unanimously took action to release employee ID number 648696 from the probationary employment of the district, and to direct an employee the timely issued notice of the board's decision. Okay. Well, now we will go to Lakeside Farms to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, thank you, school board, for allowing us to present. We're going to go ahead and have Mrs. Delizer's SDC class, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please take off your hats and hoods. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great job, guys. Thank you very much. All right, so we're here to talk about Lakeside Farms. I know we have 3 new board members. Congratulations on the latest election. And I want to kind of give you the Cliff Notes version of what's going on at Lakeside Farm. And Laura and Andrew, some of this will be a review of what we heard in October. I want to get everyone up to par with what we have going on. So excited to have the students share tonight. That's why we're here. That grounds us in our work. And we're excited to have a diverse population at the school with a variety of students and their needs. So we chose to bring them out here. So thank you to the parents for bringing them. All right. So first of all, we have our goals. We ground our work around our goals at the site. Our goals at Lakeside Farms are also tied to the district board goals and the vision. We have our academic goals, we have our social emotional goal, and then we have our innovation and engagement goal. So this is review back to the October board session where we talked about our site goals. So we're focusing on language arts and math, and we're using different areas to figure out where our kids are at, and most importantly, what are we going to do with that information? How are we going to respond to what we see and what the data tells us? So today the dashboard came out in our state, and we already knew how to preview kind of where we were at with checkpoints along the way, and we know that we have a need where we're not catching all our students. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And what are our next steps? So as a staff back in August, when we came back at our very first staff meeting, we all came to an agreement together that we have to change it up. We have to do something different to meet the needs of all our students. How are we going to catch those kids who maybe just aren't getting it? What's something in addition that we can do to meet their needs? So as a school, we have universal win time. So universal win time, okay, it's something that's been around. People call it different things. They might call it universal access time, but we're going with universal win time because the acronym stands for what I need now. So what do the kids specifically need? How are they going to get it? And then what are we going to do with our next steps? So our philosophy has been the school year that it's all hands on deck, meaning myself included. I take a group of students. So we have 4 days a week for 50 minutes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We are anybody who is available to support students. We work with students in small intensive groups. So the teachers have looked at data that they have from math data, from Imagine Learning data, from CAST data, anything they can get their hands on and grasp to the current needs of the day, and then students are grouped based on their need. And then we're able to break into smaller groups by bringing in additional staff, like I said, myself, counselor, or MTSS teacher, volunteers who come in. We have a couple high school students who are part of our program in the afternoon. We have some parents who will volunteer in the afternoon. So this has really evolved to where can we get the number smaller with students, so the ratio to the adult is smaller, and then how can we really intensify their need? So today, for instance, my group was a 4th grade group, and we played the game Map 24. And it's just a way to review, give them another angle at reviewing a concept, but to really show what they get, and if they don't, then we jump on it in that opportune time with a smaller group, and we're able to really intervene and see the results. So I'm excited to see the growth. I'm really excited to see our winter map scores to compare them to the fall. And I'm really excited because we're going to see growth. So we're going to see a good upward trend. And the most exciting part is the energy on campus. This, for a couple staff members that are in here, this was different. This was new. This was not doing the same thing we had been doing for the last few years together. This was taking a need and finding a way to meet that need. So I think we're there. We're making a lot of gains. There's a lot of excitement. I like it at the end of the day because I look forward to it at the end of the day, but then the kids are energized by it. And the kids leave school hopefully feeling a little better, especially if there's a concept that maybe they just don't have that confidence in. So again, uninterrupted time, it's valuable time, and it's a real whole school commitment, all staff included. We have one of our newest campus supervisors. He just loves being around the school, so he has a great rapport with students, and he takes a group as well. So really good things happen. So I encourage any of you, if you have an opportunity, to come by at any point of the day, but the excitement really happens in the afternoon when we can really intensify and narrow the focus with our students. And for those students who are really excelling, we're able to challenge them, give them extension activities, get them thinking in different ways, and also utilizing some of the older students to help their younger grades. So they're still learning and expanding their knowledge, but they're also sharing their knowledge too. So it's just a really, really fun part of our day. Social emotional needs. So as we know, the last couple of years, we've had a real gain in the need to support students' social emotional needs. So along with our counselor, we have a team where we're able to really support, dig down, see what the social emotional needs are by having student surveys. We're very lucky that we have a couple interns who work under our counselor, as well as tying in with our MTSS coach and with our military family life coordinator, who they're on our campus. So we're able to really have small groups of students and some individualized focus where kids get that social emotional support they need. So our team consists of the counseling interns, and then, like I said, our military family life counselor. That's something that we're really lucky to have because it's an additional support we get for our military population. And Erin Robertson is able to make that connection to the students, to the parents as well at home. So she not only supports the students, but she's supporting the family. So she's able to bring that connection there in a variety of ways. With our military students, this is our, I would say it's our second year with Anchored for Life. And Anchored for Life is a program that's supported through the military. And we have a team of students who have gone through training. It's actually pretty intense training. It was multiple days, and then they have some refreshers throughout the year. And they welcome students. They welcome new students to the campus throughout the school year, and beginning of the school year as well. But we have a lot of students who come to us throughout the year because their mom or dad or family member has been relocated due to the military. So we have Anchor for Life provides like a transitional bag for them to support them coming in. And then we have a team of student leaders from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade who will guide the students around campus, make sure that they feel welcome, know who to go to. And then just as importantly, when a student leaves our school, this same group are able to support those students to transition away from the school. Because that's something that can be a pretty emotional piece too, when a kid has to move, you know, mid-school year or at some point along the way. So those kids have those supports as well. I really wanted to focus on the additional resources that we have and how we're utilizing them. We're in a really good spot where we have a team of additional staff members beyond our basic, you know, certificated staff on campus and classified staff. So I wanted to focus on our learning loss teacher, Sierra Stark. She's new this year, a real go-getter. But what she's able to do is she's able to take small groups of students and really focus in on specific programs, which I'll get to on the next slide. But we're able to utilize her as a full-time staff member to really work with students in small groups and data-driven to be able to support the students. We have 2 new program specialists in this district. I put both of them up here, both Sarah Davis and Alejandra Garcia, because they've both been a fantastic support to our school. Sarah is primarily the one who works with Lakeside Farms, but Alejandra has really supported us in her expertise and background area as well. And they're able to come in, help not only with the IEP process, with both parents and staff, but really build that sense of community within our special ed population and our staff to really highlight what's going on well, and also just really what the important factor is to figure out what else can we do to support these students. How can we celebrate these students and get them achieving where they can exit out? This is the first year that I can recall in the last few where we've had a decent amount, it's a handful of students who have exited out of the special education program. That's a real celebration. A lot of times I think those kind of fall off the way because we're thinking about, okay, we get more students, where are they going to go? But just as importantly, that's showing that we're doing some things the right way. And if we continue to bring in, you know, the specialists with their background, Sarah has a great background in law and educational law. So we're really able to make sure that we're covering every angle. And then Alejandra coming from a psychologist background and being able to just really to work with everybody and really bring the team together. So I've seen a nice, you know, team atmosphere. We meet weekly together on campus as a SPED team. And we're really able to talk about what's coming up and how are we gonna do what's best for our kids. Community liaison, Myrna, she's been fantastic. She's a welcoming face to the community when they come in to the campus. She splits her time between another school, but when she's there, she's able to connect with those families that maybe they just need another path. They need someone else besides the principal or besides the secretary to welcome them into the school. And once we get them there, they're able to get involved, they feel more comfortable, and just another friendly person for resources for families. So that's been really beneficial. We had one of our highest turnouts at our last ELAC meeting, but I really put that on how Myrna really reached out. She followed through. We had a community night back at Lindo Park, a believe it was in October, and we had a really high turnout. And that really helps just when someone can make that extra phone call to welcome the parents and the families, and really let them know what the school's about and the community's about. The next person on here is Carrie Suggett, a veteran teacher who comes with a wealth of knowledge. So we're lucky to share her with Lemoncrest, and we're able to utilize her to really dig into the data. What is the data saying? What are the needs? And where do we go from there? So she's a fantastic organizer. She has data that's just coming out of every direction, but she's able to narrow the focus, and that really helps with our win time because the teachers have that information where we can really group students. And then with that, we have a kid watch process where we're able to bring a teacher in. It's 2-on-1. It's myself, it's Carrie, and the teacher, and we talk about a few students who maybe we feel we're not quite reaching. And then what are we going to do about it? How are we going to take the next steps of them? So that's been really fabulous. So I just really wanted to highlight what they bring to the table and how we're utilizing them, because it's an important piece. And I think that's a part of our big picture of how we're really going to make progress on our campus and in the district. So I did want to hit on our learning loss teacher. Some people are calling them LOL teachers, LLM. So Sierra Stark is our learning loss teacher. This is just a snapshot, a couple pictures of programs that she uses just to really focus in with students. Explode the Code is a program that has been used for the last couple of years with our learning loss teachers. And then just going back to the basics with magnetic boards and having the tactile learning for kids. A theme that we've kind of just taken on the last few years is watch us grow. We're a school, we're about reflecting and moving forward and growing and doing what's best for kids. I'm proud of the community aspect of our school. We meet Friday as a school community. We do a Friday flag. We acknowledge a couple students, any announcements, but it closes out the week and then it jump starts the next week. So it's just a great opportunity. If we have an opportunity to acknowledge somebody for great things that are happening. Students lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So it's just another nice community opportunity. And our Anchor for Life students on the bottom picture, you'll see there, that's a group of our student leaders who they'll have a message about once a month. They look at a quote and then they talk about what the quote means. They read the quote to the students. The Lakeside Farms experience. All our schools in Lakeside are very unique. We have our own little niche amongst our school community. Our big push, as with other schools, is equity in all classrooms. We want to make sure that students are having the opportunity from every direction that they have, and they're getting all their resources and equal access to the education. That they might learn a different way, but that they have the same opportunities that other students have, and making sure that we follow through with that. A unique aspect of Lakeside Farms, the last couple of years, we've had the Sage Garden grant that helped us kickstart our garden program, and now we're able to it was a 2-year grant, but now we're able to continue that with site funds and getting creative and how we can have someone that comes in, teaches garden lessons and also cooking lessons, and then gives students exposure to different things. It ties into FFA at LMS and the high school, and we work with LCAP. We had the opportunity last year to visit their ag department back and forth, and my hope is really soon to get high school students to come onto campus. It's tough with their schedule, but to get them to come, not just during wind time, but to come and get the students excited about learning about something different at the elementary level. That's what I have for Lakeside Farms. I appreciate the time, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions? Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
I do encourage you. We're always welcome, but I really encourage you to check out.
and we'll go, we should probably do vote one by one. So Jim, start with you. On? Yes. Laura?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Okay. Next, the board will select a member to serve as clerk for the upcoming year. I will now open the floor to nominations on that role.
I'd like to nominate Jim Bennett to serve as clerk.
Is there a second? I will second that motion. We will now vote. Jim?
In favor? Aye.
Autumn? Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And I vote aye. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, now that's done. We will now move to trustee reports and comments, and I will start with trustee Bennett.
Good evening. I just want to, say thank you to Lakeside for voting me in as on the board. It's actually quite an honor and very humbling to be here. I also want to thank, in particular, Bonnie, who's here tonight. Thank you for your legacy here on the board and all that you've done to make this board successful. My hope is that we can continue that success through the years and continue to support the kids, support the staff. And, Lakeside's just such a great community and has some great people in it. So I'm looking forward to representing them here. So thank you for that. I did have the opportunity to attend Spirit Christmas. It was very, very nice, as well as do some meet and greet. So I'm looking forward to meeting more of the staff and more of the people that kind of make this thing run. So thank you again. And
Thank you. Trustee Allison.
I would just like to say thank you as well to the people at Lakeside. I'm very excited to be in this role. I'm very involved in the Lakeside School District already as a parent, and I'm really excited to get to work with even more staff members and other people and students and teachers in schools, all the other schools. Thank you, and really excited to get started.
Trustee Casper.
I want to thank all the people of Lakeside. It's been a long journey with COVID, and I'm a retired teacher in a large district nearby, and I had to end my last day of subbing in this district, which has been 5 years. I can't believe it. And at Lemon Crest, so I'm ready to start the next journey. I thought about this and how we can make students, their performance, their mental health, achievement, launch these kids because of what's happened over the couple of years nationwide. I'm going to do 100%. I'm not going to do 90%. I've already been in several schools. I'll be in your school, I think Monday or yeah. And Leap yesterday, and Lakeside Middle School, a concert the other night, and the event at Lindo Park last Saturday, week ago Saturday, which was really great. So I'm already boots on the ground in schools, and I see every school and every facility, and every that's like the spoke in a bicycle. Every spoke has to work in unity. And that's kind of how I look at it, and I want to look at all those parts. And so I thank you. I know it's kind of a tough job with the community. There's a lot of things that people want, and there's budget restraints, and so I'm going to make myself available. And if you're at a school, please invite me. Since I'm not subbing right now, I have a lot more time. Just have one job instead of 3.
Thank you. Vice President Hofer Moyer.
I just want to welcome our board members and encourage you guys to spend as much time at the schools and at the events as you can. Lisa does a great job of making sure we know what's out there, but I encourage you to get out to all those choir performances and all the 3rd grade recitals and all that stuff. So I had the opportunity, I helped out the Spirit of Christmas, got to help get Santa all the way to the tree lighting, so that was fun. We had a choir concert at LMS. I spent half a day at River Valley Charter a couple days ago, just kind of learning more about their program and the things that they're offering. I volunteered at the Winter Extravaganza little bit of what's out there. So I encourage everybody to get out there as much as.
Thank you. So I, this month was CSBA, and so we had our delegate assembly for California School Boards Association. So then we had a conference following that. And so it was really nice to go and hear what's going on in Sacramento, get all the updates on the legal side of things from what's going on and what the association is doing to help school boards across the state. So I enjoyed that. And then I went to numerous different sessions learning about different issues in education. One that was most interesting was on the budget because we're seeing all these different fluctuations going on. And actually this year we're expecting a state deficit, and last year we were in the black, 100 billion. So this is going to be an interesting ride. So it was nice to get some analysis from CSBA. And then I was also at the Spirit of Christmas. The chamber did a bang up job. My gosh, they had 10,000 people or more, I would say. I mean, seriously, it was awesome. And I love seeing the LTA booth that was out there, as well as the district recruiting people to work for the district out there, passing out flyers. And when I stopped by, they had numerous signups. So I hope that some of those folks, as a matter of fact, somebody ran into me and said, oh, hey, I want to come back and work in the district. So you got to somebody. So that's great. And I want to mention, how many did you get?
So far, two.
Two. That's great. That's awesome. We'll take it. So I'm very excited about that and the holidays and all the different events that we have going on in the district. So I too encourage everyone to get on out and celebrate the holidays in Lakeside's friendly district. And I want to wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday if I don't see you before then. Okay, we will now move to public comments. Are there any public comments? We have no public comments. Okay, we will now move to Lisa Davis, and she'll present the first interim budget report for 2022-23.
Right, so presenting our first interim budget tonight, and I'll go through this cycle for the new board members. But before I get into that, I liked this quote. It really reminded me of, and this is my philosophy is, and I'll tell anybody who's a budget and numbers, that numbers always tell a story. And this quote really spoke to me because it's really about our districts, you know, what our values and our aspirations are. That's truly what any district's budget should be. And it's not just a bunch of numbers sitting there. It's telling a story about what we're planning on doing, what we are doing. So the timeline, the budget cycle timeline, and Laura, sorry, you see this every time, but and our new members may be familiar with it, but we start the cycle in June with the adopted budget. That's based on the state has not even adopted their own budget, and so really this is a district's best guess of what that next year is going to look like. We'll have already heard in January the governor's budget proposal for the next fiscal year, and then we'll have the May revise, but from the governor, but we still don't know for sure until the state's adopted their budget. And again, it's basically a crystal ball of your best guesses of what that next year is going to look like. And so the school district's budget process is, the state recognizes that. They give you an opportunity 2 times before you finally finish the year to revise your budget based on any kind of changes that have happened. So the state does allow if there's massive changes from when you adopted your budget in June to when the governor finally comes out with the state's budget, that there's a 45-day revision. So you can make revisions to your budget in August if there's significant changes. This year we didn't really have that big of significant changes, so we didn't opt to use the 45-day. So now fast forward to December, we have to, today's actually the day, by December 15th, districts have to approve and adopt their first interim, which is any revisions to your adopted budget. So that's what you'll be seeing tonight. Then you have the second opportunity in March with March 15th, sometimes 15th, 18th, to revise your budget again based on any changes that have happened. And so that's your second interim. And then you actually start the cycle with adopting your budget for the next fiscal year. June 30th is the end of our fiscal year. We will start closing at that point in time. And then September 15th is the due date for, it's called your unaudited actuals. That's how you've actually ended the year with what you've actually received in revenues and spent expenditures. And then the auditors come in at that time, they audit your unaudited actuals, and then you'll see your audit report with the final. So that's the budget cycle. So this year we are projecting and budgeting $77.6 million in revenues. And other transfers in, if we have those, this year we don't have any transfers in. And this is how it breaks out. The, our local control funding formula, or you will hear it referred to as the LCFF, that's the calculation that school districts use for state aid or state funding. That if your property taxes don't meet your per pupil funding formula, that there's a calculation for what each school district should be receiving per pupil. So if our property taxes don't meet that, the state backfills that, which is the LCFF. So you can see our property taxes that we get in Lakeside amount to $12.3 million. We should be, to fully fund for our students, $65.5 million. So we fall way short, so the state backfills that. Federal dollars, we receive about 7.2 million this year, states 13.9, and then local funding is 5.7. So break it down a little bit. I'm showing where we adopted the budget and now at first interim, the changes, the difference in some of those different sections of the revenue budget. The LCFF, the significant change on that, why it grew from 48 to 50 was the state also implemented this year a 3-year average to address districts' concerns of the declining enrollment. We had been funded for the last few years on the 1920 ADA, and that they kept that because of the COVID and everything. They kept that flat because, like in our district, we dramatically fell from the year before COVID. We dropped about 300, 400 students in that COVID year. So, and that was pretty standard with most districts across the state. So the state implemented a hold harmless and just flat funded the districts on that same ADA rate. But then the concern was coming out of COVID, there was still that difference. And so there was going to be a pretty big funding cliff or an ADA drop with districts. So the state passed through legislature a 3-year rolling average. So it's, if you're still declining, it's a softer landing before you get to hopefully flatten out in your ADA or your enrollment. So that's where this difference is, because they hadn't officially enacted that yet at that point in time. So we just used our old funding mechanism until we knew for sure how that was going to play. So that's why there was that big difference. Federal dollars are, there was a lot of federal dollars that have came in and are still coming in this year. So that was just adjusting with what we know. Usually federal doesn't tell us exactly how much we're going to get funded, because their fiscal year goes from October 1st to September 30th. So we usually don't get notified until the fall of what some of those funding pots are. And then also some carryovers. We can't earn revenue until we've spent it in federal dollars. And so some of those are now budgeted federal dollars that we didn't spend last year, but now we're budgeting those this year. State dropped a little bit, again, adjustments with looking at where our funding or our ADA was at with different, our lottery dollars, our mandated cost dollars. So making those adjustments. Going to our budgeted general fund expenditures and transfers out, we budgeted $76.1 million. And the pie chart shows here about 78.16% is all salaries and benefits. That's classified, certificated, and then all of our health, welfare, and our statutory fringe benefits. About $59.5 million. See off to the right, it breaks it out by certificated and classified and the health and statutory fringe. Services and operating expenses, those are our utilities, any outside consultants that we use, any staffing that we've had to hire from outside, all that falls within that designation. So it's 10.14% or 7.7 million. Our books and supplies budget is 2.8 million or 3.7. That's just our disposables of books, supplies, paper, pencils, pens, all that good stuff. And then capital outlays, anything that's facilities related or excuse me, anything that's a capital facilities improvement or anything like that. So we budgeted 6.1 million or 8%. That's higher than most years, and as I get into this, I'll explain why that is. Again, breaking out, so the certificated salaries, well, the classified and certificated salaries and the employee benefits, those increases were when we had adopted the budget, we did not have the salary increase in there, so that's the majority of that is the salary increase that was negotiated last year for this year. And then some staffing changes, you know, whether we've added staff to since adopted budget, or people have, on the certificated side, we'll see adjustments made throughout the year by staff making column. They've received more units, and so they're going to move a column over, and so that's an increase in pay. So that's just making those adjustments throughout the year. Books and supplies and services, all of those are just increasing the budgets, based on the books and supplies, the majority of that's from donation accounts that we have that had carryovers from last year, or any kind of lottery dollars that we're budgeting now that was a carryover from the prior year. So that'll always increase your budget at first interim. You'll always see that happen. And same thing with services. There's some contracts now that are being added. We may not spend that whole dollar amount. We're just budgeting based on the contract that we, the contract says not to exceed. We have to budget that dollar amount, even though it may come in half or a quarter of the whatever that costs. But we just have to budget the whole amount. And then the capital outlay increased. We're moving some funds around for our deferred maintenance, for our HVAC, the energy improvement project. So that's what that is. It's all budgeted in here. The transfers out, what we're doing in business office this year is we're moving a large amount of dollars out of the general fund. Excuse me. Out of the general fund to address the tech building that we're doing. I want to move those dollars into a more restrictive place. So then it's identified, this is where we're going to spend it from, and it's in a more secure, not in the general fund of the district. So it's being moved over into Fund 40, and you'll see that later in the slide presentation. We moved those dollars. We've moved because of the energy project. We have our first payment came on project for the lease. And so just for precaution, I moved 2 years worth of those payments over into Fund 40. So just in case, I'd like to be a little bit conservative and you just never know. We have those payments for 15 years. I want to make sure that we can at least make 2 years worth if things go sideways. And that gives us time to strategize and figure out. And by the time that, third year's out there, we figured out what to do on how to make the rest of those payments. There's that, and then there's deferred maintenance. I moved about $750,000 from general fund over into deferred maintenance and Fund 40 to address any of our facility needs. So our general fund ending balance and reserves, these are our combined unrestricted and restricted. So you can see there's a 77.6 in revenues, a 76.1 in expenditures, leaving a surplus of 1.4. You can, so I'm showing the contributions. I always like to show that. That's for the majority of that special education, and then our routine restricted maintenance account. That's a requirement in that code that we have to move 3% of our general fund over into a restricted side to address facility needs. So it's $9.8 million that we're projecting that there may be a contribution to those two, the special ed and the routine restricted maintenance accounts. So we started the year with $11.6 million. We're projecting on the unrestricted side, we're projecting to end at 7.3. We are showing a $4.3 million reduction, but again, that's a majority of that is moving funds from the unrestricted over into Fund 40. So that's kind of a one-time thing, but we're also Laura and Andrew are aware of that there's this year was a trigger of a 10% reserve cap for districts. And if you're a smaller basic aid, you're exempt from that, but we're not. And so we have to make sure that our reserve balance in our unrestricted fund is under 10%, or there's a penalty. So, so that was strategic in moving some of these dollars into Fund 40. They're still available, but they're in a more restricted place. Spending down some of the dollars, and then we're also committing, and you'll see in the SACS form, the commitments. There was about $3.6 million in commitments that get us down even, to I think it was a 4.65% reserve. So we have to take the combined fund of unrestricted and restricted all expenditures. You have to take that, but you can only use, when you're calculating the reserve, only your unrestricted fund balance. You can't use both, the unrestricted and restricted. So that's, if you're trying to figure out how that calculation comes, that's where that 9.66 comes from. So multi-year projections. Again, these are kind of crystal balls. On the 23-24 and 24-25, we're using school services dartboard on the Andrew and I, we're on the same page here, thinking the same thing. On the, what the COLA projections are and any of the other, funding for lottery and for the mandated costs and stuff. So we're using that at this point in time. Again, that will change. But we can only use what we know at this point in time, right? So that's what we're using. So we're just showing in the out years, being pretty conservative with, we are anticipating some, probably the largest amount of retirements that we've seen in a while from both certificated and classified this year. So that will really make a very large adjustment. We'll have to backfill, but again, we're not going to be backfilling a certificated staff with one that was making at the highest level. They would be coming in at a mid-range or lower. So there'll definitely be some cost savings there that we will see in multi-years as we move forward. And then this is just some of the assumptions that we used for that, and why I'm laughing, and Andrew knows why, the 23-24 COLA is projected back when the dark board was done at the adopted budget of 5.38. That has significantly changed. They're looking at upwards of 8% COLA. It's a statutory calculation that the state uses. And the way it falls into place for next year, it's more than likely going to be over 8%, even though the state's projecting, I think the last I heard was like 25 billion deficit. So it's going to be an interesting year next year with that. So, and I don't foresee any, we didn't add any additional one-time funding. I really don't know if that's going to be happening this next year. I don't know, the rainy day fund, from the meetings that I've been having, the rainy day fund are projecting that next year and maybe the year after will carry the state education funding through, but then after that, it's that third year out that can be problematic for the state. Here's the facility funds. I just wanted to give just like a high level view of when we talk about the bond fund coming out for the bond that's sitting in Fund 21, we're about exhausted our bond fund. We're at the last of our projects. We're projecting by the end of this school year that we will have expended all bond funds. Capital Facilities Fund, which is our Fund 25, it's where we collect any developer fees. So a little bit of collections there and some expenditures, and just spending that down little by little each year. And what I was speaking to before, the special reserve for capital outlay of Fund 40. So putting some of those funds over into there for any of our facility projects and safeguarding those funds to use them for the purposes that we want to target. And in our other funds, our student activity ASB fund and Fund 8, our child development fund, which is our ESS and our preschool fund. So that's where those monies are held. And then our cafeteria fund 13. So we all have decent ending fund balances, projected ending fund balances, and these are good to spend. So our next steps moving forward are, you'll see the second interim in March. I don't foresee any major changes in that. We are going to be, currently are already running preliminary enrollment. We get halfway through the school year and winter break comes and my mind's already on next school year. And it's just, that's the cycle. That's how it works. So we're looking at preliminary enrollment, we're looking at staffing projections for next year. We'll continue to look at our expenditure plans. There's some dollars that we have that you will see deficit spending, especially in the restricted side. It's going to start going down. We received a lot of money this year, and those funds don't have to be expensed. One of them goes out to 27, 28. So Ed Services and myself and other departments have created plans and Google Sheets that actually are mapping out how we plan on spending those dollars each year to keep track and control of what we're doing. So there's about 3-4 pots of dollars that extend out multiple years. So we've already received the funds. So now it's just going to be carryover so that revenue won't be recognized anymore, but the expenditures will over the next few years. And then Samantha and I, the Director of Finance and myself, are going to attend the governor's January budget in Long Beach in January. There's also a capital advisors, and I would highly recommend, I see a lot of board members go to that one. The County Office of Education sponsors it. It's free. It's here in San Diego, and it's January, yeah, 18th or 19th. I can get that date and send out the link to sign up if you would like, or I'll send it to Lisa. But So the recommendation is to approve the first interim. We have a positive certification, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Or if you would like to, I'd be more than happy to schedule time with either one, at any time with any board members to go more in depth with the budget, and especially with new members.
Thank you. Any questions?
Questions, well, thank you for the work, because I know how hard that is. So I appreciate you always having all the information out to us.
The one question I have is, so on that dartboard of assumptions, have you heard any rumors about PERS and STIRS relief? None?
I don't foresee that happening.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
just sales.
unfortunate. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because that if they say, oh, we're gonna give you an 8% COLA, well, that's great, except for the fact that our contributions to STIRS and PERS, our employer contributions go up, and then it eats away at our COLA, and so we really don't get a COLA when that happens, so.
And that's in, I sit on the Acts of Business Services Council, and at last meeting, ago, we had some folks from the legislative analyst office come in, and they were talking about that, this COLA that's sitting out there, but because of inflation, because of STIRS and PERS, and no relief with that anymore, you may think that it's like, oh, wow, this huge COLA, but it's gonna get ate up by a lot of the operational statutory fringes and or salary stuff and column that gets ate up very fast. So it might not be, there will be probably some, but not as much as what it looks like.
So what is our current contribution for STIRS and PERS? Like by how much percent are we gonna go up if they don't give us any aid?
I think STIRS right now is we're at the 19.1, and that stays, that's flat for right now, unless they come back. I think they're talking about coming back and addressing that, because it's in statute right now, and they have to go through the legislature to get it changed by years. I've kind of heard a rumor that they're trying to be on the same as how PERS does it. It's just every year they can make it without any action, legislative action. Currently, off the top of my head, PERS, I want to say is 23%. So we'll go up a couple.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks for all.
I have a couple
Your
questions.
question? Yeah.
Do utilities come, I'm assuming utilities like heat, light, and power, they come out of the general fund?
Uh-huh.
And is that
That's
represented in the services and operating
Yes.
fund? Is that a significant portion of that, or like how much, and do you have any idea of what percentage is getting eaten up by utilities?
I don't have off the top of my head what the percentages out of that budget. I wouldn't say it's a significant amount. Probably what's more significant in that under the services and operation expenses are a lot of the outside contracts right now. And you'll see as you get used to seeing the budget. Right now we have certain services, especially in ed people services or special ed and people services, required services from staff that we have to do. We have positions that are flying right now that we cannot fill, like SLP, your speech language pathologist. Those are really hard. So we have to hire those from an outside consultant. That's where those dollars sit, is in the services and operating expenses. So as we get those hired, you'll see that fall out, and then that salary will go up into, but right now, that's kind of why our services and operating expense budget is pretty large, because we have quite a few outside consultant contracts that we're targeting want to have, so.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I know utilities is going up quickly, so opportunities for grants. Like, reduce it. So, the other question I had, you said there was a large retirement, higher than normal or higher than past retirement number. And then you mentioned that because of that, we're hiring people at the mid-range salaries versus the higher end because they've been here for a while, I'm assuming. So the people that are retiring out are getting paid more than our new hires. Is that fact that we're hiring at mid-range only driven by us, or is that something that's a legality issue?
It's negotiated in the collective
CBA,
bargaining
in the
agreement
CBA?
of how high you can bring in a person from outside, with what step to place in that.
Okay.
So, there's a point that we can bring them up into, and that's it. So we're not gonna bring someone in at step 25. They're gonna come in at 25 kids. 6, 5, 8. I think it's 8.
Yeah, I just, and I understand, I just want to make sure, like, just one of the thought process, we want to be competitive, obviously, but attract really good talent. And how, kind of what my question is. How do we attract really good talent if we're moving to a certain CBA?
That was, it has come up on the steps, which is this year when we bargained, the teachers came in with some proposals where the salary schedule got adjusted, and we called it a compression, if you will, of between step 15 and it had been 33. And they moved from 15, at step 15, they moved on that third year, they moved up the step. We negotiated it down, so now it's every other year, and we brought it down to, they cap out at step 27 instead of 33. That helps. In order for us to move that, bringing in someone higher than step 8 is problematic, because if you do it, it's not just at that point in time, you have to go back to all others. It's extremely costly to make that type of change. So, kind of move some things around with someone on the salary schedule, but then part of that compensation puts that impression of bringing it down from 33 to 27 and then every other year instead of every 2 years.
Any other questions? Thank you for your hard work on that. Like I like to say, in the black happy, in the red sad. We're in the black, so I'm happy, right? Okay, moving on. I am requesting a motion for approval for the first interim report. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the first interim report.
Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, we will designate our items to the consent agenda. So I need a motion to designate our items to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to designate all the items to the consent agenda?
Make a motion to designate all items to the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, is there anything that anybody wants to pull? No, I don't. I would just like to. 4.8, okay. Anything else? Okay, I then would like to entertain a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda with the exception of 4.8. Do I have a motion? I will make that motion. And I do have a second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Laura, you pulled 4.8.
I did. I pulled 4.8. This is all the donations and gifts to the district, and I just wanted to say thank you to those people that made those donations. Bonnie's out in the audience, so I'll always thank you for all of your donations as well as everyone else's. We have good donations from PTAs as well, so I just want to make sure everyone's recognized for this.
Thank you. I totally agree with that. I'm seeing here 1,000 pencils to Lindo Park. I wonder how many boxes that came in. Like, I'm sure it was a bunch. So that's awesome. Okay, do I have a motion to approve 4.8?
I'll make a motion to approve 4.8.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. And so we're on our informational items tonight. So we have our enrollment report. Well, I guess does anybody have questions on the enrollment report? And if you do, speak now. No questions on the enrollment report. Any comments from the staff?
Just, we went up from this time last month to now, we went up 18 students.
Okay, very good. Okay, the other thing is the Williams settlement findings from Terry Russell Middle School were positive, as I understand it. And I just want to thank all the staff from Terry Russell, particularly Leslie, and then Beverly from our district office, and of course, Dr. Winspear for their efforts to get that positive certification for us. So I don't know if Dr. Winspear is speaking at all, but
I was just going to speak to it to kind of give our new board members the lay of the land around Williams. So the Williams settlement legislation stems from Williams versus State of California, which was a statewide class action lawsuit about the state of California's duty to provide every public school with instructional materials, safe and decent facilities, and qualified teachers. So this case was settled in 2004. And as a result of the settlement, the county offices became responsible for overseeing school districts to ensure that they were doing those three things: providing instructional materials, safe and decent school facilities, and qualified teachers. So in this school year, CDE, since 2004 until recently, CDE was reviewing the same schools annually, and we didn't have any schools in that bucket, so we weren't really doing Williams visits. But CDE changed how they identified schools for this school year. And so they pretty much doubled the number of schools that they were reviewing. So this year, CDE reviewed, or county offices reviewed 1,832 schools, and TDS was lucky enough to be one of those. So we had our little freak out moment, and then we started preparing. And so Todd and his team were out meticulously fixing and making the TDS facility as perfect as they possibly could. Leslie and her team were going around and making sure that we had all of our instructional materials were completely compliant. HR makes sure every year that our teachers are fully credentialed, but we also work in partnership with them. And then Beverly from the Ed Services Department really took the lead on this. And we worked with the County Office of Ed and with our folks to get very well prepared. And our hard work paid off because we received an excellent review from the team. And it was a very rigorous investigation. We had about 10 people show up, and they all went in different directions and did different things. And we tried to send someone to go with them to make sure because we wanted to learn, because there's a high likelihood that they're going to keep the same list again for many, many years. So we wanted to learn as much as we possibly could so that we could continue to be successful. So at the end of the day, we have sufficient textbooks and instructional materials. The overall rating of our facility at TDS was good, which is actually the highest rating that they have. It's good, fair, or poor. And then there were no deficiencies at all that were found that need to be corrected. And we were told by the county that that's pretty rare. So we are saying we got an A+ on our first Williams visit.
congratulations. Thanks for all of the hard work. I know that that's a lot of work. So thanks for making us look great. Okay, item 3 here is the quarterly investment report. It was in our packet. If you have questions, we'll entertain them now. Otherwise, we'll move forward. No? Okay. And then number 4, the Santee School District nominated me for CSBA Delegate Assembly. So we will see that come before us when the ballots come out. And there'll be a numerous amount of people, I'm sure, as always. Anyway, that's that. Okay, discussion items. we have our first reading of AR and Exhibit 3541.1, Transportation for School-Related Trips. I want to thank Superintendent Taylor for giving us a good brief on that. Do you guys have any questions on the policy? None? Okay, then it's going to come back to us next month. Do you have any edits you would like to make to the policy? Okay. Now we're going to go to board member committee representation. So in the back of our folders here, we have all the different committees that are in the district that we need to have people sit on as members of the board. So currently, the 2023 year, looks like we need folks for the benefits committee, the calendar committee, the curriculum committee, the homework committee, the interview committee, that's all of us, the tech committee and wellness, I am on. That should be you, okay, so that's flip-flopping, okay.
Which one?
Tech and
Yeah,
wellness
I
are
sit
on.
on tech and wellness, I believe.
Okay, and then all of us are on interviews. So here is kind of what I'd like to do. I kind of would like for all of us, like at this moment, just to take a moment to select which ones we have interest in. And there are no meetings for these
There is a benefits meeting on Monday.
on Monday. Okay. Then we should probably decide tonight who's going to sit on everything. So that way we can have them be prepared, or at least that one. So is there anyone who's interested in sitting on the benefits committee? I'm not available Monday, but I'm happy to sit on the committee. I just won't be able to be there on Monday, so we could have a second board member. We can have up to 2, as I recall, correct? So we can have an alternate for that. So is anyone? I'm happy to sit on it. I probably should sit on it. So I'll sit on it. And then is somebody like to be the alternate? Okay. All right.
I can, yeah, I'm available Monday.
Okay, Laura's the alternate. Laura's the alternate. Okay, the calendar committee. Now this is a fun committee. It's fun. I'm serious. It's the most fun. And I know because I sat on it for 3 years. It's really fun. So I would encourage it's a great way to learn about the function of the district and some of the important things that go into it. For example, how we build some of our schedule around Grossmont so that we can help align with the high schoolers, right? And also the rodeo, a lot of fun. So I encourage you to join. Who would like to do that?
I'm interested in, you don't even have to sell it because I already had it.
Boom. Okay. Okay. Autumn. Would somebody like to be the alternate for that? In the event that Jim would like to be the alternate. Okay. The curriculum committee. I have a personal recommendation for that committee. I would like to recommend Autumn on that committee with her experience in curriculum. If everybody is kind of consensus around that. I would also like to be the alternate on that committee. Homework committee. Any thoughts? Ron, would you like to be on the homework committee?
Sure.
I think you'd be good with the homework committee with your teaching experience. Okay, Ron's gonna be on the homework committee. Who would like to be the alternate on the homework committee? Laura, I think you were interested in that, right, at one point?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, would you like to be the
If
alternate?
somebody else wants to as well, I
Okay.
think, but being that I've got the little kids, I like being involved in that one, so.
Okay. Anybody interested or? All right, Laura, you can be. Okay. Interviews are all there. Okay. For tech and wellness, we need alternates. So who would like to be an alternate for the tech? Okay. Yep. And who would like to be an alternate for wellness? You will? Great. Excellent. Lisa, I wrote them all down on mine as well, so I'm sure. Okay, thank you. Let's see where we are. I think let's get close to the end here. We've got our union representatives. Is Carrie with us tonight?
She's on Zoom.
On Zoom? Okay.
Hi, everyone. How's the sound working? We okay? Great. Hi. Well, welcome to the board. Jen, welcome to Lakeside Union, to working with you the next few years. And I just also wanted to extend a thank you to those of you that already have attended our school functions, our teachers. I got a couple calls from people and said, oh my gosh, they were already at our events. So that is making an impression on our teachers. So I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. I know you reported out in your board reports, but I wanted to say thank you for showing up. It matters to them. I think Andrew, you touched on the spirit of Christmas earlier. I wanted to shout out our amazing community engagement committee was out there. This time was spearheaded by Nicole Curtis. She's a teacher at Lakeside Farms and also our LTA secretary. And so she and her team were out there with the booth and handing out Smencils to the students, 100 Smencils, or a little more than 700 Smencils ready, and we handed out 700 of them. Like, we cleared our stock out. So that to me says that what an amazing opportunity our teachers had. They had 700 interactions, and they were doing one per kid because they were, trying to spread it out. They had 700 interactions with our students, and those are always like positive interactions, and just happy to have that. And then we were right next to our HR booth in our school district booth, and so that was just a really nice addition to Spirit of Christmas this year. And so we were really happy to be there and be out there spreading the love with all of the kids. So that's it. My work group this month, it's pretty short. December is the most bang for the buck in these last weeks of school. And, we're looking forward to seeing more of you on our campuses in the future. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Hold on, let me do this right. Welcome. Guys will know I'm not quite as elegant as Carrie and everyone else speaking, because I just come up here and speak. So whatever happens, happens. So welcome, Jim, Autumn, Ron, and great to see Laura again, and Andrew, and our fabulous leaders over here on the other side of the table. I don't have a whole lot to say. I was just speaking to Chris the other day, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone. Everything has been phenomenal on the communication side. We've been working super well together. I'm sure Carrie will agree. The communication is fabulous. It's always nice when I don't have a lot to say, but I try to be positive about everything. So I look forward to working with everyone here and moving forward and making our school district better and the best in San Diego. So I will reach out to every one of you, give you my phone number, and anything, call me, I'll call you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And
Have a great
holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
And Lisa, thank you, Davis, for understanding numbers. That's all I can say. I was just listening.
In the black happy.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of Lisa Davis, right over to you on your update. Business services.
So I do have the date for the capital advisors. It's January 23rd. It's from 9 to 11 at the Office of Education. And again, I'll send this stuff to Lisa.
I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it.
It's just a good way to see what the governor's thinking in the direction that he's moving into. One item of business is the audit report. So interestingly, the state controller's office is extremely behind in their review of audits, and they are not able to meet the deadline that's required. So we had to file an extension with the county office to extend the deadline for reporting the audit reports from December 15th to the extension is January 31st. So we won't see an audit report in January may not even see it in February, probably definitely March. But just a heads up to the board that in any normal year, you would usually see the final audit report from the previous year on our financial standing in January. But because of SEOs, way behind. We had to file an extension. We already talked about just some of the initial projections, and it's just going to be, I'm anxious to attend the January budgets from the governor to see what he has to say. There's also Todd Owens, our Director of Maintenance, Operations and Transportation Facilities. Wanted me to let the board know that there's going to be a temporary construction. You'll see at our next board meeting the documents, but the county wants a temporary easement. They're doing improvements from Marilla on Woodside here to Chestnut Pine. So they're going to need an easement in front of our places of business, all places of business, but they're doing improvements along there, putting sidewalks and curbs where there are none, ADA access, bike lane, all that type of stuff, all in one here. So they project that project to be about a year in front of each of our places of business, about a month for each, 2 months. Max, but the whole project is, they're anticipating it to be a year. So anticipate seeing a lot of stuff from Marilla to Pine at different points in time of the year. Jared Murphy, our ESS.
Lovely friend.
He wanted me to let the board know that Lindo Park will be hosting ESS winter camp. It's only the second week. It will be from January 3rd to January 6th. They're expecting 175 to 200 students, and they will be off campus each day because they're going to do a field trip every day. And then child nutrition, Christy Summers, our director, she's excited. So Lakeside Farms has just been approved to provide supper meals. Lemon Crest and Lindo Park, and both middle schools are already serving supper. That's during the ESS. And basically it's the same meal as what lunch is, but those students who are in need of a dinner or a supper. And so exciting that Lakeside Farms is now approved to serve those meals to them. And then starting in January, she's contracted with a new marketing firm. So to really, get the word out on the great food and the programs and stuff and child nutrition, and they focus on the free reduced price meal applications to really get the word out, because we're not the only districts that are feeling the bite from the universal meals. We still need those applications for our federal funding. And so there's a disconnect right now, and there's a pretty big dip in the numbers on those. And so they're going to focus on that in the market. So hopefully we'll be able to get the word out and kind of read that and be able to get those applications in so we can get them. Tech, I think tonight on the board was the staff and the tech. The team's really excited about a new home that they'll be getting.
We won't be sitting in each other's laps
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that. It looks like a.
It's very cozy.
It's a little dungeon.
so they're excited about that, about getting a new home.
Thank you. Dr. Winspear.
Okay, I am going to start with district-wide professional learning community number 2, which we held yesterday. So in Lakeside, our teachers at every school site generally convene in professional learning communities twice a month. where they're looking at student data, looking at student assessment results, talking about aligning their instruction. But 4 times a year, we bring teachers together from across the district so that all the kindergarten teachers can meet together and all the 2nd grade teachers and all the 6th grade teachers. So we had our second such meeting yesterday, where we are continuing to work on our English language arts alignment and calibration across the district, so that no matter what school a 2nd grader is at, they can expect that certain standards and assessments are given, whether they're a 2nd grader at Winter Gardens or a 2nd grader at Lindo Park around this time of year or at this trimester. So Mr. Rosa hosted us at Lakeside Farms. It was a really positive experience. And we're going to do something similar in district-wide PLC number 3, also continue to work on our ELA alignment and calibration. And then our 4th meeting this year will be to collaborate around our new science adoption, which is what we did in our 1st meeting of the year, because it's our 1st year with our new science adoption this year in elementary school. And at the last board meeting, you guys adopted middle school science curriculum. So our middle school science team worked on that yesterday as well. And our middle school ELA and math groups also worked on alignment, as well as our arts groups. In October, I reported to the board that we had applied for the Strong Workforce Partnership Grant, and that grant program is, the goal of that grant program is to support K-12 local education agencies in creating, improving, and expanding CTE, career technical education courses. And the way the grant works is it's a match. So you determine what area you want to apply in, you figure out how much the district is spending currently in that area, and then you can ask for a grant for half of that amount to match your contribution. And so when we were thinking about applying for this grant, we pulled together our middle school principals to just kind of figure out, you know, in what area do you think we're ripe for expansion? Where can we say we're already working and we're spending some dollars in the district that we would like to improve upon and get a match? And our goal really is to apply for this every year with a different program in mind to improve a program or start a program eventually, possibly. So we applied. We decided that the program pathway we wanted to focus on this year was engineering with our Project Lead the Way, Femineers, robotics programs at our middle schools. So once we decided that, we brought in some of those teachers to ask them, what is it that you need? How could we make some substantive improvements to your program? And we worked with the business office to figure out how much money were we currently contributing to those programs. And so we wrote a grant requesting $242,000 that we were planning on using to give major improvements to our engineering pathway in the way of student materials. So basically bringing all of our technology kind of up to where we should be, because we're using some older technology in those programs just because of funding. And professional development. We also wanted to increase the off-campus experiences for our students. And that's one of the things that students said that they wanted more of in our LCAT survey last year. So we're really trying to meet them in what they're asking for. And then we also want to give more middle school students opportunities to learn about possible careers in the future. So we wrapped funding for all of those things into our ask. And we were just notified that we were awarded, which is really exciting. But the caveat to that was that we may not be getting our full amount. So we were told we were awarded and to hang tight, and they are going to release the information supposedly tomorrow. We shall see on exactly how much of that we were awarded. So once we find out, we might have to adjust some of our numbers and what we're going to contribute to which of our goals. But I think that for a first, not everybody that applied got awarded. So I think for a first stab at this, I'm pretty excited that we are going to get funding. And I also want to shout out to our middle school principals and Beverly Jimenez from the Ed Services Department, because they're the ones that really, their hard work is what helped us to kind of figure this all out, write the grant, and make a plan. So great news there. We are working with an agency called PK, which is the Parent Institute for Quality Education, and Miss Patty Fernandez, Dr. Patty Fernandez, so sorry, is the coordinating those efforts. And what we are doing is we are bringing parent education to our parents. This year, we have a big focus on English language arts and literacy across the district. So what PK is going to be doing is parent education on literacy. So supporting their students in literacy development. And so we can host up to 30 families in each class. Round 1 is starting in January. Lindell Park is hosting round 1. And I understand that Lemoncrest is now wanting to host a round 2. So once we do our winter classes, and just because it's being hosted at Lindell Park doesn't mean it's only for Lindell Park families. It's for the first 30 families that register and want to be part of this. But then we'll do another opportunity in the spring at Lemoncrest, which is awesome. And immersion TK Kinder info nights. I put on all of your folders a flyer for our TK and K info nights for our immersion programs. Those are going to go out on social media. They're in color and more beautiful. I couldn't print to the color printer today, so I printed to the black and white printer. So what's exciting about that is that for the last few years, we've been doing those meetings by Zoom without the tour. So especially Riverview International Academy that relies on enrollment from not necessarily, they don't have students that are automatically in their attendance area. We rely on the community and interest from the community to fill that school. So we're excited that we're going to be able to have those meetings this year in person, and then they're going to be followed up the next day by a school tour for interested families. So Lakeview is also doing that. Lakeview has fewer classes, so they're easier to fill. They're going to have one information night and tour because in the past they've been able to fill up all of their spots with just one visit. If they need to, we are holding some dates in February for them to do another one, which we'll advertise on social media. And you guys are welcome to join those visits. And then we also had, speaking of immersion, we had a meeting this week with our middle school principals and elementary principals of our immersion programs and LCAP High School to start talking or to continue our conversations that were paused during COVID about our K-12 pathway in Lakeside. So we got together and we just talked about some changes that LCAP is making to some of their progression of classes and why they're doing that. We talked about enrollment because there's a commitment for us to maintain this K-12 pathway. So it's important for them to know what our enrollment is and what we're struggling with enrollment-wise, what they're struggling with enrollment-wise, and how we're all addressing that. So it was a really positive meeting. It's going to be the first of many more to come. But it was really nice to just sit down in a room together and have these conversations and look at data together. And then last but not least, Mr. Rosa mentioned that the California dashboard came out today. We've kind of been anticipating the dashboard. The dashboard provides a snapshot of our current data as a district, and then you can also drill down into school data related to several metrics, including academic achievement, attendance, and suspension rates, but those aren't the only things. Prior to the pandemic, the dashboard was set up to reflect our current status and then change over the years. Are we improving? Are we declining? Because the dashboard was paused or suspended over COVID, it's coming out again this year. So we don't have change metrics, but we have current status metrics in there. So it used to be very colorful because change was demonstrated with colors. Now it's just purple, because that's not one of the change colors. So it's just purple this year. And then next year we'll go back to a more colorful dashboard, but it almost looks like a speedometer on a car. So I'm going to send you guys all the link tomorrow. If you want to go look in there and play around, it's actually really easy to navigate and to look at some data in there. I will tell you that our enrollment data, our attendance, our chronic attendance data says that our chronic absenteeism is high. Prior to the pandemic, we had fabulous attendance data. We looked amazing. We know that took a major hit during the pandemic. And so this is last year's data that we're looking at, not this year's. So our hope is that we will improve this year because we know attendance has improved significantly. And same with academic outcomes. For most of our schools, our academic outcomes they're rating them as low. But again, we know we took that hit because of the pandemic. And so my mantra right now is we've got nowhere to go but up. And we're doing a lot of things, similar to what Mr. Rosa shared that he's doing at Lakeside Farms. All of our sites are doing a lot of innovative things, have intervention teachers, have teachers on special assignment to coach and support this work. So our hope is that we are where we are right now, and our hope is that we will make a lot of improvements in the years to come on that dashboard. So I'm going to send you the link. If you have questions, I'm happy to talk with you and try to do my best to explain what you're looking at. And that's it.
Thank you. Dr. Rhonda Taylor.
Share, I'm gonna just jump on the bandwagon of this. Okay, and I'm gonna, at first, before I get started, I want to thank Mr. Rosa for his presentation. It was really well done. And just really talking about the grants that our teams have written this year and how successful we have been in receiving an award from. We have the 14 buses coming, and you know, just everybody's looking for ways to fund our ideas and what we want to do. And I just really want to applaud the team. You guys are awesome for taking the time to write the grants and put this together to make our dreams come true. So I want to talk more about what we were talking about data driving our work. And so when you're touring campuses, you might go into the rooms where the teachers have their professional learning community meetings, and you'll see walls that look something like this. And so this is at Linda Park, and this is the math wall. So these are all the students' scores, or kind of where they are ranging in their achievement right now. And so these change throughout the year, as some of these orange tickets that you might see in the middle were red in the beginning of the year, but now those kids have moved over to orange. So yes, they still have a lot of red up there, but we're focused on it, and we're having conversations about it all the time. And the difference this year is that the staff is really, well, the last couple of years, we've been moving toward having the staff really have meaningful conversations based on data. I always say it's so much easier to hit the target if you can see what you're shooting at, right? So this time we're totally really looking at their student achievement that way. So this is just kind of a close-up where you can see, I don't know, you guys can see some of the colors that have gone underneath and how they've changed. And so that's been really interesting. And again, like our first grade scores. This is Linda Park. Lemon Crest is doing something very similar. They depict it a little bit differently, but it's still the same sort of imagery that they have in their PLC rooms. And this is important because it really keeps them focused on what we're doing and what we're talking about and where we want to go and where we need to be. And it is a different practice than we've had before. And again, I mean, if we keep doing the same things, we're going to get the same results. So we're working really hard on finding practices that work. And if it's not working, then, you know, it's okay to adjust and do something different. So again, just really, really focus so that all of our conversations are taking this into consideration and making sure that we're keeping our foot on that gas pedal to help kids be the best that they can be. So then in the PLCs, whoops, don't touch it. In the PLCs, there are 4 essential questions that we're asking ourselves all the time about our students. What do we want our students to learn? How will we know when they've learned it? What do we do if they already know it? We have to address those kids and their needs as well as those that are we're still working to get them where we want them to be. And what do we do if they don't learn it? So then we're having those conversations all the time. Our district-wide PLCs, we're talking about those with our alignment and calibration work. We're very, very focused this year on what we're doing with our students. I know that, for example, I'm going to say, I know that Mr. Rosa, he has all of his data is all computerized, so they do talk about data and it's still visible, but some different sites do it a little bit differently. I'm going to see if this will pop up. I'm challenging myself to screen share twice. I want wanted to talk about something we have coming up. So I've been working on this for a couple of years now. So last year I wanted to do this presentation. However, with COVID, we weren't able to get it lifted off the ground. So in talking with our PTAs, we were talking about how to really do a discussion, bring things in for the community. The PTA wanted to sponsor it, our district-wide PTA. And Crystal Grosvenor had mentioned that Monica Dean has this presentation stolen. And I said, hey, I happen to know Monica Dean. Let's see if she'll come and do something for our community. So then in thinking about the content of this, which is about human trafficking and how teenagers are targeted. And so it's trying to educate our community and our parents on what to look for. You know, if your child's in their room with their phone, you know, and they start saying things with your child, what are you looking for? And so Monica was more than willing to come out, but I was thinking about the topic that it might be really wise to partner with El Capitan High School. So I reached out to Scott and of course he agreed. So we're using their facilities. Their event center will be using that. So on January 19th, we'll be hosting, Monica Dean will be here. She's bringing a panelist of 4 survivors of sex trafficking that will be there to answer questions. It's a documentary type situation, so they'll be showing a movie. We have Jared Murphy is going to do childcare for us, so the parents can go. And I've talked to the Optimists, they're going to do the ever famous Opti dogs and pulled pork sandwiches. So we'll have food, we have childcare, and already I have over 100 people that are interested in coming, so I'm excited about it. So this will be January 19th. If you would like to go, this is out there. I'll email it to you all, but RSVP, so I'll make sure I have seats for everyone, okay? And that's it from me, other than Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays, however you celebrate them. And that's it for me, thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, with that, do I have any other last comments from the board before we go back to closed session? Okay, hearing none, then we will adjourn to closed session and I'll see you there in 5 minutes.
Wait, I need lots of signatures from all of them.
Okay, and so we will take our 5 minutes.